morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela, and I have got questions for you. What opens with Miss Dr. Heavenly letting one of the Braxton sisters know that she is a relationship expert? And what closes with Dr. Heavenly seemingly unable to forge a relationship with Miss Mariah? If you guessed Married to Medicine, Season 5, Episode 10, Invitations and Revelations, you're correct. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to see how we get from opening to closing. I'm Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You. Welcome and welcome back. And thank you, subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing wherever the thing is on your thing. Just consider it. Okay, so let us proceed. So we have the montage. I didn't catch all of that, but you know how we start off with, a snippet here of somebody with their kids, somebody at work, and then we go into Doc Heavenly, and she's with one of the Braxton sisters. I think it's Tawanda, but I'm not sure. And she tells Tawanda that Dr. Heavenly tells Tawanda that Dr. Heavenly is a relationship expert. And she says the best thing about her advice while she's doing her dental work, something to the effect of she can keep their mouth open as long as she needs to keep their mouth open. You know how they doing dental procedures, while she gives them all of the good advice. They can't say nothing back to her. They just have to listen. Until she's finished talking. Okay, so then we have Curtis. He is setting up Curtis's fancy car. Curtis, he's setting up a picnic in the park. Doc Jackie is joining him. Dr. Jackie says she hasn't been out of the house much, and she feels like everyone is watching. Woo, I bet you that's not a good feeling. She talks about the social media attention, and Curtis is like, you got to learn to ignore folks. And Jackie is like, well, that's easier said than done. And I remember when I was growing up and I was embarrassed about something or embarrassed about something else, and my mother was like, you can only be embarrassed for yourself. So even though I understand what she's saying, if I were giving her advice, it would be like, well, he's the one who behaved out of hand, not you. So he needs to be embarrassed for what he did, not you. But I do understand you just out on blast. Your business is out on blast. People are out there judging and having opinions and making commentaries and criticizing you or whoever. It's kind of a lot to be in the public eye. People be hard. Some of these people out here are like intense. And so Curtis, invites her back to Paris. Gay Paris is where she fell in love with Curtis. She says that, and he says he wants to take her there. He wants her to spend more time on things other than work, which is what he was saying when they were together before she knew that he had cheated on her. So he ain't really saying nothing new. But she does say that Paris is where she fell in love with him. She was really taken by his command of the French language, and also, all the different cafes. He knew, like, he was really, he was showing her something, I guess, that she was impressed with. But I guess that's a one-trick pony. It only worked the first time, Mr. Curtis. And she says she wants to take her time, in terms of going to Paris or anything. But what if we want to talk about going someplace, let's talk about going to therapy right here in Atlanta, right? Before we talk about anything else. Yeah, and she's also concerned about people on social media thinking that she's too weak to move on. So not that she should necessarily be overly concerned by what people on social media are thinking about her. But I think part of what happens when you're a public figure is, whether you want to or not, you become a role model. And so a lot of people are looking at you, and you can model different things. Some of the things that you model could be positive or perceived as positive, and some of the things that you model could be negative or perceived as negative. So I can understand, I appreciate her consciousness of that. of course, she has to do what her heart and her mind and whatever tells her to do. But I appreciate that she is conscious that, people are watching and processing how she handles it. We see Dr. Contessa and Dr. Scott. They're out on a date night. They're so excited. They need to, I think that they, as they're talking about, what's going on in the relationship, I'm like, oh, they need to talk to Miss Niche over in Wagsville. She, that's part of Atlanta, because she got her nanny like that. That's probably what they need to do. But anyway, Dr. Contessa talks about mommy guilt. And she says there's no daddy guilt. So she thinks that she needs to step back. As a woman, as a mother, she feels that it's her responsibility to, handle certain things and make sure that certain things are handled and that her children have her. And men don't have that sense of feeling. So she's thinking about stepping back and letting her career take a back seat to her family. And we find out that her mother worked nights in order to be there with them during the day. But she was probably tired and sleep during the day, because, well, I don't know, but I know when I worked nights, it was like, that's intense. And Dr. Scott is like, you want to quit your job? And Dr. Contessa is like, well, people act like being a mom is not honorable. It is, and my kids need me now. And Dr. Scott is like, I mean, you could pull back. I mean, we just got this big old expensive house. And that's what I said last time, that maybe she could think about, cutting back her hours, since she has the flexibility to do it, or maybe both of them. But anyway, they'll work it out. Because maybe the other thing I was thinking is maybe she just want to not be out at work. Maybe she want to be a stay-at-home mom for a while, and she wants her husband to support her in that. And her husband is like, Okay, so then we have Dr. Simone and Cecil, and they're talking about Kids Force, which is his app. And his phone is dinging all night, or his tablet, or whatever we hear. And then they also talk about them both being stubborn. His phone is dinging, I guess, with stuff having to do with the app. And Cecil says how Cecil is talking about how he wants Dr. Simone to be a full partner. And I'm like, how does he want her to be a full partner? And he ain't even bothered to bring it to her before he made the decision to get involved with it. Like, I don't believe that story. But anyway, and then a guy named Reed, a white guy, comes in. He's one of the partners, and we find out that it's 4 guys involved, or 4 other guys. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 in total. I think it's 5 in total. And they want Simone to be the face of the brand, since she is, the softer, more feminine, mommy, womanly, doctorly face of the men. And then after that, she's like, oh, I'm 110%. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because a minute ago, she was saying she didn't know if she was 110% or not. And now she 110%. But, I don't know if she's saying that because they in front of company, or, whatever. And then we have Toya and Dr. Eugene going to a coffee shop. My mother was like, her butt is so big. Is she pregnant? I'm like, your butt don't get big when you're pregnant. But, or maybe it does get big. But I'm like, usually your belly get big when you're pregnant. And then I'm like, haven't you seen how them women in Atlanta look? They thick and big booty like that. I mean, that's their brand. Even though she's from Detroit, she got, that country booty going on. But I don't know, because when they were in New Orleans, she asked if she was pregnant. So maybe Toya is pregnant, but her stomach looked flat to me, flattish. Okay, so Toya, and they're meeting up with their white male real estate agent. I'm really noticing on this show, maybe this episode in particular, but it's like the white people presence. Toya wants to make money on the house, in terms of the house that they own, that they have to pay the mortgage on. Let's say their mortgage is like $3,000 a month. They were renting it out for $3,000 a month, but now their renters are not there anymore, and they don't have anybody there. And Toya is like, basically, we should rent it out for more, so we're making money. Eugene is like, I just want to cover the mortgage. That's what I want to do. And we find out that they paid $576,000 for the house. And the real estate agent says that it's worth about $535,000 now. Now, I'm imagining, or I kind of gathered from there that, Dr. Eugene wants to wait until the market comes back up. But I imagine that something similar probably happened to black folks in Atlanta to what happened to a lot of black folks throughout the country, particularly in places like Detroit, where people were oversold. So, oh, this is a, people were oversold houses. So the value, that house is not going to go back up to that value for like 100 years. And you just need to suck it up and take a loss. And it really made me, so Dr. Jean wants to wait for the market to come back up, and Toya wants to go ahead and sell and be done with it. And I really wish, if y'all watch Survivor's Remorse, remember the daddy and the mama on Survivor's Remorse, how they put money aside for their daughter and invested so that, when she was grown, she was going to get $500,000 or whatever it was that she was going to get. And they seem to be like part of kind of a black elite. People who had some experience with money, who had some financial savvy. And I really wish that Eugene and Toya could get some coaching and mentoring and some advice from some people like that. I'm not saying that the white people are taking advantage of them, but I know that they said on earlier shows that neither one of them really had, much experience with managing money on the scale that they're living now. But I just really wish they could get some good, solid, loving advice and some good, some good insight into what's going on. Because it's like, even at their level, they can continuously be taken advantage. Even at their level of financial resources, they can be continually taken advantage of. That's what happens to a lot of athletes and a lot of entertainers. And you hear, oh, they don't have any money. So anyway, that's what that's my prayer for them. Okay, so then we see Quad with her good friend, her good white friend Emily. Speaking of white folks, this is the woman we've seen before, but she's going to be a part of not Toya, but Miss Quad is going to be part of a cooking segment on 11 Alive, which seems to be like a local network there. So it's a step on the path to her securing a book deal. I thought she had a book deal, but I guess she's just working on writing the book. Maybe she could self-publish. I'm a big fan of, ownership, but, every situation does not necessarily call for ownership, but I feel like way more situations than we think of do. And and it's kind of weird, like the more I think about this love on the table or romance on the table book, and then she's having these marital issues, it's almost like an anathema, like an anti-commercial for her book. Like, I ain't making none of them recipes if it's gonna mean that, my marriage is gonna fall apart, my relationship is gonna fall apart. So, hold on a second. If it's gonna mean, it just seemed like it's bad for the brand, like, if it was, but anyway. So then we see Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Simone, and they're dropping Michael and Alora off. Now, Michael is Dr. Simone's child, and Alora is Dr. Heavenly's child, and they're dropping them off at school. Do they go to school together? I don't know if Heavenly thinks she's funny when she like, oh, your baby, he used to be ugly or funny looking, and now he's cute. I mean, it didn't really upset me because I don't really care, but, I don't really get, I guess that's just like her sense of humor. Dr. Heavenly, so Dr. Heavenly is like, hey, I want to do the couples trip, the couples trip that you do every year. I want to do it since I'm a relationship expert, and since my marriage is working and yours is falling apart. You might want to use that time, trying to fix your marriage, and I'll do the relationship thing. She feels she's more qualified to do it. Okay, we said that. And then Dr. Heavenly is like, I'm thinking about going to the Barbados because half of Doc Daddy Damon's family is from the Barbados. And Dr. Simone is like, how are you going to bring everyone together when you got issues with folks? But Simone is like, hey, I have more time for me to work on my marriage. If you want to do it, take it, girl, and run with it. And, and then also Simone is like, dealing with these, married to medicine folks, they hard to please. They complain a lot. So she want that headache. Have at it, girl. Have at it. Then we have Dr. Heavenly video chatting with Toya. And Dr. Heavenly is telling Toya that she just hijacked the couples trip, because Simone has all these marital issues. And Toya is like, well, what about Mariah? Are you inviting Mariah? And Dr. Heavenly is like, I don't even know if I'm going to invite Mariah. So Later on, my mother was like, I watched it with my mother this time. Later on, my mother was like, well, I think that she basically took over the couples trip so she could not invite Mariah. And I'm kind of like, and as I'm looking back at my notes, I'm like, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that what a guan. Okay, so then we have Cecil and his brother meeting up with for the app release party. Like, his brother is helping to get it together, the setup and everything. And then the party's happening. Folks are arriving. Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Jackie, Toya. I love the notes with juice. I don't know what that is. Oh my gosh. Love notes with juice. I don't know what that is. Then Dr. Jackie had mentioned the Curtis love note, that, that Curtis had given her a love note. And Mariah and another woman arrive. And then Dr. Heavenly is like, well, I guess that biatch Mariah ain't gonna hug me tonight. Because I guess when Mariah come in, she acknowledged everybody, but she didn't really acknowledge her. And Dr. Contessa and her husband are there. And then last year, the couple's trip to Hawaii, Dr. Jackie is talking about the fact that last year when there was a couple's trip to Hawaii, there was no Curtis. And here we go again having a couple's trip, and she the only one not coupled up. And I had forgotten about Curtis not being there, but I can't remember why he wasn't there. I guess they had an argument, and she was like, I'm going on a trip. And she went on the trip, and he wanted her to stay home. And she was like, I'm going on the trip. So I guess that also the this job of Married to Medicine took precedence over him. He just feel like what he want don't count for nothing because she got other responsibilities other than just taking care of him. I don't know if that's how he feels, but anyway, we have two groups talking to each other. One group includes Mariah and one group includes Heavenly, and it's like they're trying to talk to Mariah and Heavenly about how to interact with each other, or how to feel about each other, or what to think about each other, or whatever. And yep. Okay, so this is when Ivy is like that. She expressly hijacked the trip for the purpose of not inviting Mariah. Okay, so the program is starting for the app. Remember, we're at the app release party. Did I tell you that? The program is starting, and somebody is like, did you invite Quad? She didn't say she wasn't coming. Well, late arrivals are her staple. But I bet you, I was thinking about it also when she had that segment on 11 Alive. I wonder if she was late. I wonder if she's late for some things and not late for other things. I mean, it just makes me curious. Dr. Simone gets introduced as a spokesperson for the app, and she grabs that mic. And it's 4 white men in addition to her husband who are the app purveyors, the purveyors of the app. And then we see, there's like a little video. I didn't really pay attention to it, but it looked cute from what I could see. Quad arrives. Then in Dr. Contessa's interview, she's like, well, I don't know really what's up with Quad and time. It's like she's oblivious to when things start. It's like she's oblivious to anything but herself. And I was kind of like, now that's an interesting statement. And then it was interesting too that Quad came in late, and she was the only one that they showed asking a question. Usually if I arrive somewhere late, I don't ask a question a lot of times, because I'm like, well, I don't know if this question was already asked. And even if you say, I don't know if this question was already asked, but blah, 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 it's like, then I bring attention to the fact that I'm late. And I don't really care I like to be on time. So I would feel a little, I don't want to bring attention to the fact that I might have missed something, or that I'm late. Okay, so then Dr. Heavenly brings Quad up to speed on the couples trip and vents about Mariah, and they're joined by Dr. Simone and Toya. Quad is anti-Mariah, and then Mariah comes over and she's like, oh, am I interrupting anything? And then Dr. Contessa is there. I don't know when she came, but they start talking a little bit about forgiveness, Toya is saying, and Quad is like, well, who are you talking to and who are you talking about? And then Toya is basically like, I'm talking about you, Quad, and Heavenly. And Quad is like, well, I'm cordial. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Toya is like, cordial? Cordial, what does this mean? We need to look up cordial. You are not, and she reads off the definition, you are not friendly or warm, Quad. And I'm kind of like, she may not be cordial, but I didn't look up polite. But I'm like, well, let me look up polite. Maybe we need to switch to polite. Because she don't have to be this woman's best friend if she don't want to be this woman's best friend. I mean, forget, anyway, we talk about this every single week. I can't stand it. And then Dr. Heavenly is like, you know, some people apologize and try to do better, and some people don't even apologize. And some people won't even apologize, and then we'll invite you to their house to publicly humiliate you. And Dr. Heavenly is like, blah, 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 blah. But you know, that's the kind of stuff that make you say F you and your mama too, or something to that effect. So it's like she back at the mama. She know that the mama will always get a rise, saying your mama will always get a rise out of Mariah. I don't know. Have we heard her argue before? Is that like her standard? Because I didn't hear her say your mama in the voodoo shop with Dr. Simone. I think she just know that that's like something that'll piss Mariah off. So then Mariah leaves, you know, the event, but not before asserting that it's not just me. It's not just me. I don't know what that means. Then Quad is like, bye now. And Simone says to Dr. Heavenly, if you're going to do the trip, you need to pull it together and be the bigger person. I know you can do it. And then we see Mariah and her friend on the street, and they're, you know, venting about what happened. And then Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Simone come downstairs, and Dr. Simone says to Dr. Heavenly, well, and then Dr. Heavenly says, I think that Mariah, that I've been partially wrong, and that could we all come together, wherein during the trip, and resolutions to our problems in Barbados, and maybe you could come to the couples trip. It's like, and Mariah is like, in her interview, she's like, she invited me, but I know she don't want me to come, so I'm definitely coming. And then Mariah is like, well, on this trip, I just want you to understand that I will not tolerate, we cannot do no talk about babies and parents. And then Dr. Heavenly is like, and I need you to never bring my husband into anything again. And then they flash back to where Mariah is like saying to Doc Damon, Daddy, get your wife. And I guess that upset Doc Heavenly. I don't know. And then it's like some blah, 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 blah. And then before I know it, Dr. Heavenly is like, well, F you, biatch. And then Mariah is like, biatch. And Dr. Heavenly is like, biatch, I know you know that word. And then I know you know that word. And then Dr. Simone is pulled Heavenly over to the side again to try to get her to, calm her down or whatever. So that was Married to Medicine. That was Married to Medicine. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, subscribing. We're really working on 1,000 subscribers. So I guess that's the next goal. Countdown to 1,000. Countdown to 1,000. Are you one of the 1,000? Are you one of the 1,000? Be one of the 1,000. All right. Today is the best day ever. You are the greatest. You are the #1 stunner. So be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous. You. Be you. Be fabulous. Be